everybody, it is Bishop here for the Neoteric Man. In our first video, we had talked about the first homework assignment, which is writing a letter to yourself. And I had promised in that video that I would read to you my letter. So fair warning, this might get a little emotional. It was emotional when I wrote it. It's emotional every time I read it, and it's something that is sacred to me. Let's talk about that for just a minute to kind of give you an idea of how to set up your letter. So, there are secrets, which are things that we are not supposed to tell each other, or other people in any case. Like, hey, if Bobby tells you, don't tell somebody this, you know it, but you're not supposed to share it. That's a secret. Sacred is something that you don't share with everybody. Now, that's going to seem a little bit off because Jeff and I are very vocal and open about what we're doing and what we've been through. Go at a level in which you are comfortable. That is my advice to you guys is if you feel comfortable sharing something, go ahead and do it. If we're in man class and you want to share something in man class, by all means, that is going to be a safe environment to share something sacred. But if somebody isn't truly your friend, if it's somebody that might be out to get you, you don't want to tell them your deep, intimate thoughts and personal ideas. Might not turn out the best for you. So, believe it or not, of all things, I'm going to start this off with a scripture. I know, it's a scripture. My name is Bishop. Go figure, I'm going to read you a scripture. I was raised Mormon. It didn't take, if you couldn't tell, tattoos and piercings. However, there's a little bit of good in most everything out in the universe, and from that, we can take the pieces we need and continue on with life. This is actually Matthew chapter 7, verse 6. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs. Neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. So just like I was saying, sharing something that is sacred with somebody who isn't a good friend, it's something they don't need to know, might not work out the best for you, so keep that in the back of your head, okay? I'm going to adjust my mic here so you guys can hear me a little bit better. So, with that being said, this letter is supposed to be a fearless, moral inventory and a conversation with yourself about what's going on in your life and some of the changes that you might need to make. This is not to impress anybody. You don't need to have an opinion of what other people might think when you're writing this. This is for you. And once again, it is sacred. I do not discourage sharing this with the right people, but make sure you really believe it's the right person before you share it. So I wrote this in December of 2017, and this was the year that I had separated and started the divorce process after a 10-year marriage. It was a very, 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 very hard time in my life. Dear Bishop, my dear friend Bishop, you've been my lifelong acquaintance, and it is time I write to you. I have been with you every step of the way. I have seen the good times, the okay times, and the downright frightening times. I have known you for 30 years now. It'll be 31 this coming March. I was there even when no one else could be or wanted to be. However, we have never truly been friends. I remember the days of playing with Grandma and Grandpa Bailey. I was there for the earth-shattering loss of her passing in '93. You were little, but you wouldn't let yourself cry at her funeral. You were so tiny and at a loss back then. Grandpa Bailey became your best friend you could ever ask for, and he loved you very much. He was there for you and you for him until his passing in '99. Mom wouldn't let you go see him, but his caretaker Penny would sneak you in so that you were the only grandchild who got to say goodbye. You got to see him one last time. The day before he died, he wasn't awake or alert, but you picked up his frail body and hugged him one last time. Again, you would not let a single tear shed at his funeral. I think you felt if you let go, you would never stop. I was there when you made Benway go check on his father after a week of silence. I was there when the police found him and you waited by his side until they released the scene, and you helped the coroner bag up his rigid body and carry him out of that house one last time. You were 18 then and very lost. You did a lot of stupid self-destructive things. I remember the night Josh asked you if you were okay to drive and your response was, "Fuck no, man." You were right, but you still went. It almost cost you everything that night. You should not have walked away from that, but you did. I remember you thinking there must be some reason you survived. I know every time you wear a seatbelt now, you flash back to that night. I also know the days you flash back to that night and wish it had ended differently. Those are the days you don't wear that seatbelt. You kept on going, fighting fires and being the best broken you that you could be. I was there screaming at you that day at the Duck River Cemetery. It was in the trunk, fully loaded, 7.62 by 39 full metal jacket. You cried, you hurt, and you were ready to see Grandma and Grandpa again. Thank God it was a busy day and you never seemed to find a minute alone to do what you came to do. You were just 19 then. I was with you the day you needed to change. That was the morning you stopped doing any and all drugs cold turkey, even though painkillers helped. You and Josh spent weeks together playing Halo 2, telling everyone to fuck off because you were staying out of trouble and going back to Idaho to start over. 2006, that was the last time you got to see Mom. You and Josh were both conflicted about leaving. He was crushing on Ashley and you on Kim. Even that one sweet rich widow had asked you to stay and offered you a room in her mansion, a car, and a job. Kim woke up and called you desperately when you were hours away and begged you to come back. You left so much behind you. You and Brian reconnected in Idaho. You did the church thing again, but not very well like always. It was never really something for you, but for your friends and family. 2007, the year you met her. She was beautiful and adventurous, and you two young kids were in love. Neither of you understood how broken you really were. You did not and could not understand those broken bits that you hid from each other were the most important parts to share. August 11th, 2007, Orem, Utah. You found some old pictures on MySpace and she wanted you to wear the cowboy hat again like in the picture. You still have that hat and the boots you bought that day, and the boots still get worn now more than ever. You only pulled them out for special occasions because they meant more than, and now they're just made for walking. So a little sidebar to that, I don't have the hat anymore. This year I burned it in a cleansing ritual at Jeff's house. It needed to happen. Still got the boots. They still don't mean as much to me as they did when I got married in them. August 11th, 2010. The big hurt happened. The one thing you always feared went down while you were hours away helping a family friend put together wheel lines so they could make the most of the season on the farm. You knew, you always know, it was a blessing and a curse gifted from an analytical mind, years of reading mystery books, and from good genetics. One voice told you to go and to do you and to go to school as planned. And she said that one thing that made you want to stay, that gave you hope. The church thing again, so many emotions I watched you go through, again, not done for you, but for friends and family, and out of desperate hope. You found a family of black sheep, a home away from home. The leader jumped ship after an amazing night, and you stepped in. You gathered the masses and bickered with the other side that viewed you as competition. You shined in the light and you cried in the darkness because you too were fighting doubts of faith, self, and everything. I watched it all unfold. What was it, 4 years ago now, before Valentine's Day? The organization you built had amazing people in it. It was when Keen died around the time of the Cancer is a Bastard meetup. The one guy you knew was a bad apple, the one you said not to trust, that was the one who in the end made you lose all faith, all trust, even though he was thousands of miles away, he did the most damage. You had an out, but I watched you stay. You were scared and felt like no matter what, no one else would truly want you again anyway, so why go? It was the logistics and the fear that kept you. Sure, there were good weeks, days, and moments that followed you, but you had checked out. Love had died and was now an action word for you and not a feeling. But you put on a good show and it flickered from time to time, but what started in 2007 had died that year. Those demons of not feeling good enough have always had the loudest voices. Now I know you. I have watched you from day one and been there, so I say this with love. Neither of you were perfect. You, sir, are no saint. You know it. You both did wrongs that led to the fall. That is the new normal for you. I have wept with you, I have laughed with you, and I have loved with you. The unsaid words, the hidden thoughts you both had were unhealthy for both of you. They did no good for either of you. She did not know how you felt then, and you never knew how you had hurt her in ways as well. You two were always the best at not being on the same page at the same time. It was what you did. You spent 3 days in the shop making that table. You slept only when you had to wait for things to dry. $150 that you did not have to spend turned into $350 for that officer's widow and her family. That saint who bought it donated it to the family. It was the night of the event that you learned life was changing. You just gotten each other booze and booze accessories for Christmas. After 5 years, you both never thought a child was going to happen, but it did. Now I know that you aren't happy about things being the way they are right now. I know you weep silently and often loudly when no one can hear you, but that little girl even now is a blessing. She loves you and you love her, even through the hurt and pain. You love her. Man, 2016, remember how much you hated most everything about that year? There were some highlights, but most of the things you enjoyed then hurt like sand in the eyes to think about now. 2017 has been a kick in the balls in so many ways. Again, the joys you felt earlier bring you to tears. Don't go there right now, big guy. You just stopped crying for the 3rd time since the start of this letter. Yes, I kept count. You felt some of the deepest things you have felt this year. You have felt joy and love in a way that had been lost to you. You have grown and been as strong as you have been weak this year. Tattoo therapy and some piercings, the way you've always dealt with things and still do. Props to you. You've never self-harmed physically, even though you almost did it in the life-ending way 3 times now. Twice alone this year. Yep, I keep count of that too. You've always used tattoos to turn that mental hurt into physical pain and use it to release it. Man, remember that 12-hour session on the chest? Both Zeth was worn out before you were. You had a lot to deal with that day. Bonus points, you got the hug that day that you needed. 13 tattoos now with thoughts of another one. Good thing one is owed to you and you do trade work. Each tattoo is a story, just like the big guy in that movie playing in the background for the tiny human. Breathe and quit crying. 4 times now. I have a chest piece, and my first session was literally 12 hours in the chair. I have always used piercings and tattoos as a way to deal with the things going on in my head that I need to feel pain over, but I just can't quite let it out. Maybe it's a healthy solution, maybe it's not, but it's one that has prevented me from doing self-harm like cutting. You have some amazing friends who are just as broken and fucked up as you, and sometimes they give the most meaningful advice to you, like when they reminded you of how miserable you've been for years. Because there are 3 people on this earth who know you well enough to see through that $1 million smile. The one you are divorcing, the one who won't really talk to you right now, and the one who asks you not to become jaded and soulless like her. Yes, you broke that promise to her. You shattered that soul in ways that were creative and impressive. Lucifer has some questions about that, and I'm sure he will ask you the day you guys meet. So these broken friends with the good advice. That Wednesday, 2 weeks ago now, I think, they made you think as they got you intoxicated. Yes, you are not happy that this is the new normal because you never got married with the intention to get divorced. You never wanted split custody and to sleep alone like you do now. Still on the subject of sleep, you have slept 3 times of a decent, refreshing sleep since the split. Once was meaningful and so needed that night, and you felt like you had a soul again. And God, it was still at peace. You reflect on it often. 5 times now, stop it. The other 2 times in the past 7 days, I know it was comforting. Back to where you were. You stopped being in love 4 years ago. So no, you won't. Go back because yes, you feel an obligation, you feel it is the right thing to do, but neither of you will be happy with it. You can't change the past, my friend. You can't keep up that fight anymore. You put in 10 years with good times and bad. Move on. So I need to wrap this up with one very important topic. You big guy, you have that one secret kept from 99.999% of the people on this earth. You have never loved you. No matter the lives you have touched or the good you have done, it has never been enough for you. You give so selflessly because you give with all you have and never gave any of it to you. You have shined like a spotlight to so many broken souls. You have saved a few lives along the way. You say the right things. You know all the good advice, but you never take it to heart for you. That blast from the past that wants to have a beer after deployment was right yesterday. I have gone to find myself. If I get back before I return, keep me here. That old quote from that old bar you went to in Rexburg back when you needed the fake ID, it has stayed with you for over a decade now. 2018 is a new world for you in so many ways. The one thing that I ask for you is use this year to fall madly, deeply in love with someone who deserves it and needs it. That person is me. Why me? Because I am you. Make friends this year. Revive that charitable SOB that lives inside, because helping others is a good part of us that needs to live on. But this time, share that love with you. This is the one shot we get, and we need to stop regretting and all of the pain. You now live for you and Jackie, and she needs a father that loves himself as much as he loves her. There will be so many tears that I won't keep track. There will be so many late nights with no sleep, because that is how we do things now. There will always be that one hope and wish, but it is not our reason for being. Love you, big guy. You deserve it. You are worth it. And you, sir, can be the beacon of light again if you choose to be. Set those boundaries you need, and don't do anything for anyone else out of obligation. Do it because it is what you want and need. Be the blunt and honest you that you have been, and never leave things unsaid or feelings kept in the dark anymore. Carpe diem, seize the carp. Yes, we can still love horrible movie quotes. With much love, that one friend who has always been with you, Bishop Brown. Kind of started to tear up at the end. Kind of proud of myself for not bawling in the middle of that and breaking down. That letter always brings back a lot of emotion, but it also puts into perspective my life today. Today is 7/23 of 2020. And that was in 2017, December of 2017. I have shared this letter privately with a few people who have truly wanted to get to know me and to understand me. I have shared it with some people who were almost practically strangers, but it felt right. And at the end of sharing it with them, it was touching for me, it was touching for them, and we both got some different insights out of it. So your challenge for this assignment is to write a letter to yourself. To fearlessly write a letter to yourself, to hold back no punches, and to say what you really need to say to you. And hopefully that'll help you put things into perspective, to maybe put some things behind you, and to allow a reflection point for the future, because I promise you, I read this letter often. I hope that in some way this is beneficial for you, motivational for you. I hope it will maybe even help you write your letter. This isn't a template for your letter. All of these letters are going to come out different, and I really hope each and every single one of you takes this opportunity to accept this assignment and to really give it a shot. There's been a lot of advice I've been given over the years that I felt was weird, or it made me feel out of my comfort zone or stupid for trying them. And some of them did things for me, and some of them didn't. Not everybody's built the same way. Not everybody reacts the same way. But I promise you this, it's worth taking the shot. Even if it doesn't bring you any kind of understanding or peace now or in the future, you at least took time out of the day to write something for you. When I originally wrote this letter, I had had 2, maybe 3 beers in me. I was relaxed, but I was with it. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't zonked out of my mind. I could comprehend what was coming out of me. I typed this up on a keyboard. There's no handwritten physical copy of this letter. It's all on the internet. It's on type, and this is the first time I've actually printed it to read it off to you guys. But have a physical copy, even if you type it, print it out, put it somewhere safe so you can reflect upon it. Mine is posted in my blog, schrodingersmile.com. And it's posted on my old Google blog spot. I'm moving things over to my own domain. I paid for it. That was a treat I did for me. Writing is one of my forms of therapy. And there's been a few times where I've shared things and people have approached me privately and just been like, hey, look, I read this and thank you. You're very brave. I'm not brave. I'm an idiot. I've caused a lot of my own problems. But I can learn. I can grow. And if some of the trauma, pain, and hurt I've gone through helps somebody else process what they need to, then it's made it a little bit more worth it. And they don't need to tell me that for it to be worth it to me. It's just touching to know that some people care and some things help other people. So, our due date for this assignment is fastly approaching. Today is 7/23. This letter is due on the 27th. Man class is the last Monday of every month. If you have not done it already, please this weekend sit down and take the time to do it. This probably took me all of an hour. Mine's kind of long, and it was very thought out along the way, and there was lots of breaks where I was crying and couldn't see the keyboard, so I had to stop. But please do write this out, and if you so feel inclined, please do share it with the class. It'll mean a lot to a lot of people. I thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and I really do hope it was beneficial. So this is Bishop for the Neoteric Man. This is episode 1A. Jeff is also going to be writing and reading his letter in a video format, which will be shared. That'll be episode 1B. Hopefully that'll be coming out for you soon. I look forward to all of you joining us on the Zoom class who would like to participate in this exercise and to learn what the next homework assignment is. It's one I haven't done yet, and it's going to be an interesting one. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and you have yourself a fantastic morning, evening, night, whatever it may be when you're watching this. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to drop them on the video or to message me personally on Facebook. I am Bishop Brown, and I'm fairly easy to track down. Have a good one.